Hiya. Well, I've thought a lot, I've deliberated, and I wasn't sure whether to make this video, whether to upload this video, or share this video with you. And it's not your usual Campervan Tales outing, or cooking video, or going somewhere and showing you something, but it is an important video. And it's one that I think I need to talk about and tell you about, because it might affect you. And you might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with campervans or me or anything? But it's got to do with all of you, and it's got to do with you if you're in a campervan or a motorhome, a little bit as well. So 1998, 1999, I was married, got 3 beautiful kids, and a nice home, and a really good job. And I started to feel down. I couldn't explain why, didn't know what it was, but I just didn't feel right. But I didn't ask for help. Didn't turn to anyone and said, I'm struggling here. Not my wife, not my family, not my colleagues, not friends, no one. I got help in another way. I thought having a glass of wine would make me feel better. And it did. For a while. But then 1 glass of wine wasn't enough. So it was 2 glasses of wine. And that helped for a while. And then 3 glasses of wine were all it took to make me feel better. 2 wasn't enough, 3 helped. And then a bottle. And then 2 bottles. And then 3 bottles. And I was doing this mostly in secret. Or I was doing it in secret, to be honest. And it got to the point where my wife couldn't cope. She couldn't cope with me. It wasn't fair on the kids. It wasn't good for the kids to see me like that. They were only young, very young. And eventually, she asked me to leave, which caused a few battles in itself, which again the kids witnessed, and it wasn't good for them. But I had nowhere to go. No family got any room for me, or wanted, to be honest, to have room for me. And I don't blame them for that, because I was a mess. But then, on top of everything else, because of the alcohol problem, I lost my job. And it was a job I loved. And it's a job that I was good at. So, I'd lost my home, I'd lost my wife, I'd lost my job. And more importantly, I'd lost seeing my kids in their everyday lives. So I ended up living in my car. No job, no home, nowhere to live apart from my car. I was eating in it, cooking in it, sleeping in it, and drinking in it. Now, I want to reiterate, I never drove my car when I was drunk. That's something I'd always been against, and I would never do it. No matter how drunk I was, I wouldn't do it. But I was drinking in my car. I was going to sleep in my car on the back seat. And that's where it went really, really wrong. So yeah, that's where it went really wrong. One evening, I'd knocked myself out by drinking too much. I'd turned to vodka by this time. Wine wasn't enough. Vodka helped. So I thought. But yeah, I'd had a bottle of vodka and fallen asleep, and I got a knock on the door of the car, and it was the police. I was on public property, asleep, drunk, in the back of my car. They spoke to me, they breathalyzed me, and they arrested me. And they arrested me for being drunk in charge of a motor vehicle. I got taken to the police station, questioned. Once I'd come around enough, I was in a cell for quite a while until I'd sobered up. I was questioned and I was charged, and I ended up in court, and I was fined. I had points on my licence, and the reason was because I got the keys on me. I got the ignition key on me. It was in my coat pocket, and I was asleep with my coat on, but the ignition key was in my coat pocket, and that's classed as being drunk in charge. So it was a bit of an eye-opener, a bit of a shock. It was me, always been a fine, upstanding citizen, with the home, the kids, the good job. And now, this was me, this was my life. And it was a shock for 2-3 days. But I was still feeling sorry for myself. So I carried on drinking in the back of my car, falling asleep through, well, it wasn't even sleep, was it? It was just falling into an alcoholic stupor and waking up the next morning and within hours doing it again. It carried on. And I still didn't ask for help. I just carried on drinking. Wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. I was on total self-destruct. Didn't think I got anything to live for, really. And as I've said time and time again since, alcohol was my escape. It made me forget for a few hours. And I wasn't drinking it and sipping it, I was downing it. Just downing it and downing it, just to knock myself out, so I could forget everything that had gone wrong. Because if I thought about the kids, I'd get upset. And the only way that I could cure being upset was to drink and knock myself out. And so it went on. I was getting more and more in a mess. So I carried on drinking. And a couple of months later, I got another knock on the back door of my car, and it was the police again. It was parked up in a different place, but somebody else reported that there was a bloke unconscious on the back seat of a car. And I got arrested again. I got taken in, breathalyzed, charged with being drunk in charge. Second offence within 2 months. Went back to court, and I was jailed. I got a 3-month prison sentence. Wasn't good. Wasn't good for me. Certainly wasn't good for my kids. We lived in a small town where a lot of people knew each other. And I spent 3 months, well, I didn't, I spent 6 weeks in prison because it was a 3-month sentence, and I got half time. Most of my time was in an open prison because obviously I wasn't a top class criminal, I'd just been stupid. So depression certainly put me in a bad place. And they say life begins at 40. I was sentenced and sent to prison 2 days after my 40th birthday. Obviously when I came out, I was lucky that I had some friends who found me a flat and helped me to furnish it and whatever. Still no job. But I still found money to drink, and I carried on drinking. And once again, the kids were allowed to see me with supervision, and I was still seeing them half the time drunk out my head. And it wasn't good. So what I'm trying to say is, if you get depressed, talk to someone. I know it's difficult for men to talk to people and admit they're having problems. But do it, because it can escalate. And it can have knock-on effects for years to come. I eventually kicked drinking, and Keith helped me through that. Really helped me through that, and I kicked it. I've not had a drink now for 5-6 years, something like that. I don't count. I'm not one of these people who says 21 days, 71 days, 45 days, whatever days dry. I just say so many years. But I did it with the help of Keith, no one else, because again, I wouldn't talk to anyone about it. It's just a case of I woke up one morning and said I'm not doing it anymore. But the knock-on effect, the ripple effect of what I did all those years ago is still affecting people these days. Oh, to this day. My children, 3 wonderful children, now grown up. I only see one of them. He took a long time to come around, but thankfully, and I'm really glad he did, and he got in touch with me, and we started from scratch. And you've seen him on videos, Jacob, and he's also been a good support. My other 2 kids, again, grown up, they're twins, won't have anything to do with me. So that's a knock-on effect for them. They won't see me. As far as they're concerned, they've not got a dad. And it's moved on to the next generation. I've got a grandson, my daughter's had a son, and obviously he won't see me. So he's been affected too, because he'll never get to know his granddad. Not unless something really radical changes. He'll never get to know his granddad. And that's one reason we make the videos, the YouTube videos, is so that one day he might get to see what his granddad was like. Hopefully, anyway. But another knock-on effect that it had for me going in prison was the kids. They had to cope not only with their dad being an alcoholic and having been in prison, but the stigma of it as well. They didn't have a good time at school. They got bullied. They got ribbed. Jacob has certainly suffered a heck of a lot, and I'm sure the other 2 have. Jacob didn't have a good time at all at school, and that's down to me and what happened, and it's down to my depression. It's down to me not seeking help, me not asking for help. So again, I'm just going to say, be brave. Don't bottle it up. Don't turn to a bottle. Don't turn to anything else to prop you up, because look what happened to me. I lost everything. My wife, my kids, my home, my job, my freedom. All because I wouldn't say I need help. I don't want you to feel sorry for me or anything like that. I've got a good life now. I'm happy now. I'm in a really good place. I'm with a really good person. But I do worry about the long-term effects it's had on other people. And again, I'm just going to say, all because I was a coward and I didn't ask for help. So, whether you're a man, woman, boy or girl watching this, if you're struggling, speak to someone. Whether it be your partner, your wife, your husband. Not one of your kids, not when they're young, but if your kids are grown up. Teacher, colleague. I had tens and tens of people I could have turned to. But I hate using that, soldiered on. But I didn't, did I? The bottle helped me to soldier on, and then the bottle got the better of me. If you want to contact me and ask for anything, or you want some advice, I'm not the best at giving advice, but I'll try and help if I can. As will Keith. He'll help if he can. He's been a rock through my bad years. Samaritans, your GP, counsellors, anyone, just anyone. Emails to anyone, mental health charities, but get in touch. Don't struggle. Don't turn to a prop, apart from the humankind. I'm sorry if this hasn't been that kind of video that you like, or want to watch, or want to listen to. And I'm sorry if that's why you want to turn off from the channel, but it's just something that I wanted to say. And if it doesn't affect you, but you think it might be affecting someone else, show them this video. Just share it, or just sit them down and say, just watch this, see what can happen. And why did I say at the beginning of this that it can affect people in campervans? I didn't mean the depression. What I meant was drinking alcohol in your campervan. If you parked up in a public place and you had a drink, and this is some advice we had off a policeman friend who we've got to know since all my troubles. He's a traffic policeman. And his advice is, if you're going to have a drink in your campervan, don't have your ignition key on you. All the rest of the keys, all the keys, whatever you use to lock your door and all that, but your ignition key, having a safe box, a magnetic key safe, attached to the outside underneath of your van. Don't have your ignition key on you, because it could end up that you get arrested and charged for being drunk in charge of a vehicle, a motor vehicle. And I won't wish that on anyone, because if it happens once, you're unlucky and you'll end up with a fine and maybe points. If it happens a second time, you could get a jail sentence. Okay, thanks for watching. Promise the next video will be more cheerful, and we'll be back to our normal trips and the cooking ones that you enjoy so much. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. If you need help, go and get it. Ask for it. Ask us. We'll do anything we can. Thanks a lot. Bye.